Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you being here. I have an icebreaker for you guys. I'm going to ask you to do is smile or if you can, laugh. It's a joke. So here we go, guys. Ready? Man walks into a library. He approaches the librarian at the very back of the building. He approaches the librarian and says, "I'd like to order a hamburger, fries, and a soda." Well, the librarian's confused and looks at him strangely and says, "Sir, this is a library." To which the man replies, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'd like to order a hamburger, fries, and a soda." Hey, thank you. My name is Mark Evanoff, and I am the school counselor at Fusion Charter. Thank you for coming today. This is Restorative Practices, the Art and Science of Talking Circles. This is our team today. Again, I'll introduce you to all of our team. Mark Evanoff, I'm school counselor. With me is Ryan Gatch and Abraham Zuniga. Fusion Charter is a brick and mortar school in the Central Valley, Turlock, California. Our parent company is AspireNet, which is a nonprofit family organization. We work with students who have experienced a lot of ACEs, a lot of adverse childhood experiences, a lot of trauma. So what we've done is we've created a trauma-sensitive school. Our entire staff here is trauma-informed. Picture on the left there is a quick group picture of us. This is our front face. This is some beautification projects that we're doing in our greenhouse. This is my emotional support dog, Pablo. And this is a outdoor peace pole that we've created for our staff and students. Regarding talking circles, a lot of conferences I go to talk simply about how then we do circle time and then they'd quickly move on. And so what we realized was, wait, what's circle time? And so we started developing our own process to use talking circles in an educational field at our school. And mind you, these are 7th through 12th graders who have had a lot of difficulty. But our purpose today with this agenda is by the end of the session, we hope to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of the significance and the potential of talking circles in education, and hopefully inspire you to incorporate them in your own educational practices and initiatives. What's great about talking circles is they're free, and there's a lot of resources out there, including ourselves. The power of talking circles, real quickly, it's changed our entire school culture. We have a unique school. I won't lie, our students come to school about 90 minutes a day and then work about 90 minutes at home. So they're not on campus for a long time, but we haven't had a fight on campus in 3 years. This is a school with a lot of rough personalities. We've learned to work together through this collaborative approach. Next, I'd like to show you a quick little video on what is restorative practices.
Our world is changing at a breathtaking pace. Social patterns that have long characterized human life are changing dramatically around the globe, diminishing social bonds within families, schools, workplaces, and communities. But humans are hardwired to connect. Just as we need food, shelter, and clothing, we also need strong and meaningful relationships to thrive. With all this in mind, what is restorative practices? Restorative practices is an emerging social science that studies how to strengthen relationships between individuals and within communities. When put into practice, the effects are profound. In schools, students experience greater safety and sense of belonging, resulting in improved behavior, less bullying, and less violence. In workplaces, leaders facilitate direct communication among staff and address conflict as it arises. The result is higher performance, greater accountability, and effective collaboration. In criminal justice, new options allow victims and offenders, friends and family, to repair the emotional harm caused by crime. Throughout our neighborhoods, restorative practices give regular people more voice in the issues that matter most. In a nutshell, restorative practices is the science of relationships and community. Your individual daily interactions have a big impact on the world around you, at your job, with young people, and throughout your community. How we relate matters. This video was brought to you by the International Institute for Restorative Practices. To learn more, attend our flagship event, Basic Restorative Practices, enroll in a graduate course, or join us at a world conference.
So like the video says, some of the key highlights of talking circles in schools I've listed here: builds empathy, community building, conflict resolution. What's unique about Fusion is that we're not using talking circles in the traditional conflict resolution method. We're using them in every possible way you can imagine. And I'll go through a little bit more with detail, but staff meetings, parent orientations, attendance issues, etc. The benefits of talking circles over suspensions. This in itself could be its own presentation, but we know too much now. We can't simply punish our students anymore because they're tired or because they were a little disrespectful. These circles provide a really, really good way to get to the heart of what's bothering them. You know, we find out why that kid is sleeping in class. Well, he was kicked out of his bedroom because family came to live in there, you know, et cetera, et cetera. There's always some story. And so by changing our approach, by making our environment more safe, more comfortable for our students, they open up more. Next, I'd like to introduce my partner, Ryan Gatch, who's going to go over some of the fine details about how to perform a circle. Thanks, Ryan.
All right, thanks, Mark. Hello, good afternoon to you guys. My name is Ryan Gatch. I live also in Turlock. I work with Fusion Charter Schools. This is my first year doing so, my 25th year in education, teaching and coaching. So I'm really excited to be a part of this program. When I got there and we talked about different things that we utilize, one of the things is on how we communicate. We talk about the fist of five. You hold your hand up, you got a 0. You hold it up like this, you got a 5, okay? Some of you guys might use a thumbs up method for checking for understanding, and some of your kids, you might just have the kid that go give you this one. Okay, be alert to that, okay? You might ask for the fist of 5. 5, hey, how many of you guys get this? Give me a 5, and then you might get this one. That means that, yeah, that's a 5. And so be alert to that because each of your students is different, just like what we were talking about earlier. And so I think that's critically important because when I started there, I came from a traditional school in Montana. Okay, I was a public educator up there. And so when we moved out here, I wanted a chance to give back to students. And when we read about a SpearNet's mission and statement, I was like, this is the place that I want to work because these are the students that need help the most. And so I was really excited about it. And so on a fist with 0 and 5, everybody give me a sign here of how familiar you are with talking circles. Anybody familiar with talking circles? 2, 5, 3. All right, got a lot of different numbers. When I came over to Fusion, I was right here, okay? No idea about it. I saw it on a show once. I'm like a regular ed teacher. I was kind of making fun of it, you know, and as I'm trying to get started, it was real interesting to see how it developed for me personally because I had not worked with it. And then how successful are talking circles at your school or place of work? The really neat thing about talking circles is we actually utilize them as part of our staff meetings. We utilize them that's a Friday thing for us. We utilize them on staff orientations, like when they interviewed me. A lot of great opportunities to use them. And then that way, when you're interviewing people, you can actually get a feel for who that person really is. And that person that is interviewing can actually see if they want to come work for your company, see if you're the type of people that you'd like to be around. Okay, various ways that we use this. New student orientation, this is critical for us. I deal with a lot of our 7th and 8th grade students and our 9th grade students. Most of our 7th and 8th grade students we get have been removed from the public school system around in that area. And so my job is I got to reinvigorate these kids to be excited about being in school again. And that's a tough topic some days for us, but when we come into our new student orientation, everybody learns of how the circle works if they had no familiarity with it, which most of our families don't at that time. And then we're able to move them along in that from the new student orientation. We use it in our classrooms. And for example, I'm a classroom instructor at our school, and I use it every Thursday. So the kid knows every Thursday at the certain time, the last 25 minutes of class, that I'm going to be going to this circle, and they know it. Hey, here it comes. Here's our topic for the day too. So we're going to all sit there and do it. And so it works out really good. Like I said, staff trainings, we utilize them. We do them in our staff meetings. They work real well. That way it cuts back on the if you ever been in those big rooms, 50 people, and you got the one educator that wants to stand on their soapbox and ruin the whole meeting for everybody when you're trying to get out. So it's really good that it goes in a circle and everybody can express their feelings at that time, okay? Other one, like I said, the new staff interview. When we were moving down here, crazy. It's a crazy story. It really is. But they're like, all right, hey, we'll walk you around campus on this Monday, and Tuesday we'll interview. I'm like, great, we'll be down there on Sunday. Well, we were behind schedule. We're driving 2 U-Hauls from Montana down to Turlock, California, and I've never driven in the state of California before. And so I'm just trying to get down there. And so I called up one of our other people that's on staff, Mr. Ashby. I said, hey, man, I'm not going to make it on Monday. I said, can I just come in on Tuesday? He said, yeah. I said, all right, I got a heck of a story for you. So anyways, that's how it worked for me. But I was able to go in there. Mark interviewed me. Susan interviewed me. And a couple other staff members interviewed me. And that was nice because I've had a number of opportunities to work with a lot of great people. But I've never had a chance to interview with people this way. And it was a fantastic way to do it because I knew that I wanted to work for this school. Where opposed, I was always trying to get a job at the school because I wanted to be the football coach. Here, I wanted to work at the school because they're all on the same mission as me. We want to help people. You know, we talk about mission and vision. What do you want to do? Help people. That's why we're all in here, and that's what we want to do. And so that works good. Attendance issues. All of our students we have are attendance issues. Most of the time we get them because they are attendance issues. So we're working on trying to bring them back into school. So we've modified their learning environment. We've modified their educational environment, and we've found success. We've graduated 45 seniors this year, which if you look at this group of 45 seniors that we graduated, maybe 5 of them would have graduated from the TUSD school district. And so now we got 45 of them to graduate from the TUSD school district because of restorative justice practices and encouraging these kids to return to liking or enjoying their learning. This is in Native American roots. We like to bring this up. I think they like me to do it because I am from Montana. I grew up with a lot of strong Native American roots. I grew up by the Northern Cheyenne Reservation, which is down in the southeast part of the state. Crow Reservation, Northern Cheyenne Reservation's right there. When I was fortunate enough to go work on ranches down as a kid, brand cattle, all that sort of fun stuff. And those were the people that I played my sports with, I did all the stuff with. And so these are the traditions that I've always brought with. And so even within our circle, I bring different things. I brought different things from Montana with me, a bison, which I tell all of our kids, everybody is a representative because we're all survivors of something, just like the bison was. And the kids don't get it yet, but I try to reach them with that. I also try to reach them with the importance of colors. In our school, red's an important color, but we try to get them to understand, but it's the color of blood. Just like the gold, the color of the sun. The white is the day. The black is the night. These are the 4 parts that make up our lives. And these are the parts, the intricacies of the Native American culture that we bring within that. And so for me, I got a real strong belief in it because my older brother's Native American. He's Salish. We happen to both be adopted. And so when we're able to do this, I grew up in an environment where we're Native American kids in a different environment. And so it was real interesting to be able to grow up like that. And so I'm able to bring this over for us, and we'd really like to recognize the Salinas tribe that's down here in this area, the coastal tribe of the Salinas. And so I thought we'd bring that up. Now, let's move on to the circle process. If my wife was in here, she'd be in the back saying, move on, like when I was coaching. Okay? She'd be like, get out of here. Okay? Circle process. On your tables, you guys should have a lesson plan, and we have our circle process on there. Okay, and for example, if you look over at Abe, he's going to be our facilitator today. And so we're going to move him along as we move our circle along, and we'll look at it that way. Okay, so we're looking at the circle process. We talked about the circle seating, the mindful moment that comes into place. So when we look at this and we will look at the circle process, we do sit in a circle. And actually, I have my whole classroom set up in a circle. We're real fortunate. We don't take over 12 kids. But like I said, we're trying to rekindle the love for learning with these kids in our environment. And so when we take these kids in, we're able to work in small groups because these kids need direct support in their small group atmosphere. And so we're able to do that in the circle seating. As you see, we got the King Arthur Knights of the Round Table up there. I think it's real good. I showed my students this year at the very beginning, I showed them a powwow circle of the Native American drummers at that time. And so that I liked showcasing that so that way they could draw a correlation to what I was talking about Native American culture. Face-to-face accountability, equality, and connection. And then we try to keep everything out of the circle. If you notice right here, we got the chairs and we got the centerpiece. In my classroom, I do have a small table that we put our centerpiece on just so it's easier for me to grab. You can have something like that, but this is it. This is as bare as the circle gets. That way everybody can look and share their energy with one another at the circle. When we go through the mindful moment, we're setting up the practice. And so when we do this, you're going to set the students up and it's like, all right, we'll give them the purpose of the circle. Today's purpose is we're going to introduce this to you. The mindful moment is now we're going to focus on all the processes that go into place, the science that's going to come into place during this time. And so we'll take a short, distinct moment of stillness. I use box breathing method. It's an old sports science thing that I would always do with our football guys. Man, it's a great way to calm yourself down. It's a great way to calm down the classroom as well. And so it focuses on your breathing. I always tell them, disconnect from your cell phone. We always say, all right, guys, hey, just a reminder, let's put our cell phone over on our table. I always take mine out of my pocket to show them, and I'll set it down on the table. And then, of course, I'll have the kids that don't want to do it. They'll sit there and look right on their phone like this, and you know what they're telling you then, right? I'm not going to do it, but we're going to get to that kid and we're going to reach him because I'm not going to lose it on that kid because he's going to be sitting here with his phone out and I'll be like, hey, Ryan, would you like to put your phone away? And he'll just not respond to you and say, all right. And you just move on from it. You got to go with some of their negative behaviors to keep them in the circle to get the science of the talking circle to happen, okay? We always state the purpose. The purpose is talking circle. Directs the circle, sets expectations, and why we are here for that talking circle. We usually started with the opening activity. Our students like short videos. Now, when we talk about short videos, like us, we watch that one there. It's 1.5 minutes probably. We got attention span on it. I found any video over 1 minute, I lose those kids instantly. And so I would look for anything that was 30 seconds for the video. Opening quotes, I love quotes because I'm a sports guy. Anybody that's a sports person loves quotes. I use those a ton. I use poems. Lorraine uses poems because I've used her poems before in my classes. Relevant to the purpose. Why are we there talking? I'm trying to re-encourage these kids to be engaged in school. And how am I going to do that? And that's good. We talk about the centerpieces. It's a place to focus your eyes. Oftentimes it's hard to have a conversation when you got to look somebody in the eyes and you might not care for them or you might not know them. But to share that energy is strong, isn't it? Yeah, it is strong. And so when you do have that chance, when that guy does look up at you, you can connect with that student at that time. And so that's always the critical part, a place to focus your eyes. And so when that kid does look up from having his hood pulled over his head and he looks up and he looks at you and he says, are we done yet? Guess what? He responded to you and he's still in the circle and he didn't tell you to F off and leave or anything like that. So you're doing good because you're going to get him one of these days. Talking pieces, an important element, controls the conversation. Really fun because at my house, everybody's got their own equal say at my house and everybody wants to tell you right away. We actually, one time we were having a big blowout, so we had to put the talking circle pieces into play at the house. And so that worked out good. But it invites everybody to speak. So everybody feels comfortable. So if you're the quiet person that normally doesn't get a talk in the staff meeting because the one loudmouth is running the whole show, right? It gives you the time to actually say your piece to have your piece heard, because your piece is as important as that guy that's over in the corner that's being loud, that thinks that saying that, hey, circle training is not important, but it is, because this is how we reach our kids, okay? When you do the introduction and check-in rounds, we do it real simply by saying, all right, hey, what would you like to be called today? And what do you value? But this is after we've already done a value check-in with them. And that's one of the critical things. So like my kids, I say, hey, what do you guys value? And they're like, money. And I'm like, okay, let's think about this a little bit more in depth, more than value. Let's not think about something that's monetary or something that you can feel, but it's a value of what you can control. And so what we always would do is I'd set up and I'd always talk to our students about the different goals that they have in their introduction and value round. And with a resounding, every time I do this, so I'd run, so like when we talk about a lesson plan for this, and we're talking about values, there's a value lesson plan. We talk about it with our kids. When we start bringing in new kids into our school, we try to bring it back to reintroduce it to our students that were there before. And so it works out real good. But if you talk to a kid, they want to feel respected. They want to feel respected. I remember one day, one kid who would always be off topic about what he would say, inappropriate stuff, things like that. But one day he's all mad and I said, hey, that's enough. He goes, I just want to be treated like a human. I said, dang right you do, let's go. And so oftentimes that kid's acting out with the behavior because he doesn't feel that he's been treated fairly up until that point. And I think that's a critical thing for us to look at as educators, because oftentimes, like, I'll have students that will say that I'm the op. And I'm like, what do you mean the op? The opposition. I said, no, dude, I'm here to make sure that you can get through this. I'm here to help you. And so trying to explain that and help the students understand that we're all in it to help each other out. Hey, and I always tell them, we're in the same room together, guys. It's all of us. We're in this together no matter what. And I'm not leaving. And let's go. So that's how it is with our values. But it's fun when we can set it up. I always have them write out cards. We like to write note cards. You'll see when you come up here, you'll see note cards up here as well. But I just have the students write down their note cards. I go back, rewrite them. And so if you think that poor handwriting, that's mine, not the kids. So we write that stuff down. And that's important because I like to have them write down, because once again, what are they doing? They're engaging. But you're going to have that kid that won't write anything down. Just be alert to that, okay? As long as they're sitting there, you're winning, okay? You got to understand that. As long as they're sitting there, you're winning, okay?
Imagine values are like flowers that like to be picked every day. Values are like an inner compass. They are what matter to you deep in your heart. The person you want to be. The way you would like to treat yourself. The way that you would like to treat others. The things that you feel passionate about. There are no right or wrong values, just as there are no right or wrong flowers. Values are what matter to you, so try picking several values and use them throughout your day.
All right. Thanks, Mark, for playing that video for us. This is actually the opening video that we show our kids when we talk to them about setting up their values and when they're first brainstorming what a value is. And so that's a real great video that, like I said, we show it every time when we introduce that part. The guidelines, we always talked about the guidelines for our talking circles. And number one thing is respect the talking piece. Kids will tell you they want respect. You want to give your kids respect. We want to have our kids feel like they're actually a part of it. Instead of talking at a student, we want them to be a part of their education. Just don't get this educational part done, but educate as we do this. And I think that's always critical when we look at that. But we talk about respecting the talking piece. We talk about speaking from the heart. This is good. When you can get your groups going and they're talking from the heart, holy cow, you got some powerful stuff going on that day. Whenever you hit that benchmark, or you have a kid say, hey, we want to write our own lesson for a talking circle, man, you can go make sure you slap some high fives with your coworkers, because you're reaching and teaching on those days, and you want those. Listen with your heart. That's critical, because oftentimes you'll have students that will try to not say anything for lack of being embarrassed in a group. That's why we try to keep it in a small talking circle group as well. Speak with respect, listen with respect, remain in the circle. And then we got honor confidentiality, but we use what is said in the circle stays in the circle. And that way they know that it's a safe place for them. My biggest concerns is not how much work we're getting done during that day with that student, but did that kid get there safely? Was he safe at school, or she safe at school all day? And how are we going to get them home safely? Those are my three main concerns for them. And so with that, if I can meet those, their needs for that, then I can get them in that chair. Then I got a chance. Okay, so now it's our talking circle activity. It's going to be your turn. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, under your chair, you got to, no, I'm just teasing. I just need 5 volunteers. Do we got 5 volunteers? This will work out good.
So we do have fabulous prizes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I
we
forgot
got
that part.
some lotto tickets right here for whoever volunteers. All right. All right, so obviously we're already in a circle. Okay, so then we have the talking pieces right here in the middle. So for the purpose of today, though, this is gonna be our talking piece. All right, so but as you can see, you know, everyone put a little bit of something in here, and like they said, to get the kids more invested, you know, ask them to bring something from home. You know, that'll be their talking piece. Maybe they'll want to grab it, you know, and speak up just because they know it's theirs. All right, so we're gonna start with a mindful moment. So remember, everyone in the talking piece, in the talking circle has to turn off their cell phones. Please make sure it's on pause. All right, and I want you to let go the thoughts of the day. I want you to be present, be centered, be here. Okay, and we're gonna start off with some just deep breaths. Okay, so breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Okay. Next is state the purpose. So the purpose of today's circle is to create an opportunity for a direct experience in being in a circle for staff, and to introduce basic elements of the circle to the staff. Okay. The opening activity. So we actually have a video for our opening activity. We're going to watch it right now.
The talking piece and centerpieces are very important parts of the talking circle. In a talking circle, the talking piece signifies that a person has the right to speak, and they can say as much or as little as they want. But the beauty of this is they can also pass and say nothing. In a talking circle, people are invited to speak, but they are not required to speak.
Yes, why do we stay out of sight of the windows? Pass.
The talking piece is whoever is holding the talking piece is the one who can speak. If you are not holding the talking piece, you cannot speak. However, you are allowed to pass, and the keeper is the one who normally initiates the talking piece.
Sitting in circle is enough. We pass the talking piece from hand to hand around the circle, working as a group to have a conversation. The centerpiece is also important. It tells a story. It's a place where people can focus their eyes. Oftentimes, it's difficult to look at people in the eyes during hard or awkward conversations. So we focus our attention in the middle, and from there, the energy goes out to the others within the circle. So what it means to speak from the heart and listen from the heart means that you speak with respect and that you listen with respect.
Listening from the heart is to be respectful towards the speaker and try to understand what the speaker is coming from.
When we speak from the heart, it is important that we are staying on topic of whatever the leader or the keeper has said and asked us, and so we are able to give meaningful responses.
I think talking circles are beneficial because everyone can get to know their teacher and they get to know their other classmates. So even though you may not talk to each other outside of class or outside of school, and even though you may not continue talking to one another, you can still know at the end of the day that that is what your classmate enjoys and that is what your classmate prefers in something.
I enjoy it. I like to talk anyway, so it works for me, and it's good, like he said, to get a chance to get to know one another. I mean, we got to learn, I know what you like to eat, you love carne asada tacos, well, I'm going to remember that for later.
Talking circles prevent reactive conversations by having a structure to the circle. A reactive conversation is something you might see at the dinner table growing up as a kid. You have to blurt in and get your answer in or get your point across and maybe cut off other people. That's not how a talking circle works. Talking circles are a structured conversation by passing the talking piece around the circle. Everyone can say as much or as little as they want. We always say, just say enough. And enough might be nothing, and that's okay.
It's hard to reach some of our students sometimes, and it's hard to have them open up, especially with our population. So I really, I brainstormed and I thought, what should we talk about? How can I get these students to open up? And so I actually picked the subject of bereavement. I've lost cousins, I've lost friends, in my hometown due to drugs, due to crime. And so I noticed that our students, were involved in some of this stuff. Their family members are involved in some of this stuff. They come from low-income neighborhoods. And so I picked that subject for a reason. And it was my favorite because that subject right there was students that have never ever said anything in circle. They opened up, and not only opened up, but a lot of them really poured out their hearts. And it was really touching. It brought me to tears that, just thinking about it right now, seeing them actually open up and seeing them actually pour their hearts out and actually cry. And I never thought that could happen, but it happened during that circle.
So talking circles foster deeper listening by people having their focus on the speaker. When someone is speaking, when they're holding the talking piece, the others in the circle are really focused on what they're saying. They know that they're not going to be blurting in, they're not going to be cutting someone off, so they can focus their complete and total attention on that speaker so they can help with the talking process and the listening process.
I would personally recommend talking circles to other schools because I wish they had these restorative justice circles when I was going through school. Growing up, I wasn't very open with my ideas, with my emotions, so I suppressed a lot of stuff, and it ended up exploding in a lot of different negative ways. And so I wish I had a safe environment to actually talk about this stuff, to actually, let these emotions out, let these opinions out, and know that I wasn't alone.
All right, so next we have the centerpiece. Okay, the centerpiece and the talking piece. So today I'm gonna be the keeper of the circle. Okay, I can talk without the talking piece to help facilitate the circle. So we use the talking pieces right here to answer questions in rounds. We must pass it from person to person. We never skip, we never throw the talking piece. All right, you're invited to speak, but you can always pass and say nothing. Okay, and that's enough. The centerpiece is here for us to focus our attention. I actually use it a lot of times. It's hard for me to look at people in the eyes sometimes. And so, especially when we talk about these really serious subjects, so I like looking at the centerpiece. All right, next is the introduction and the check-in round, okay? So I'll be starting this off. Oh, right, this is the talking piece. So just what is your name, okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing today? So I'll start. My name is Abraham Zuniga, and I'm at a 8 right now.
I'm Lori Bigley, and I'm at a 9.
Sam Saldivar, about a 7.
Mario Mata, a 7.
Sylvia Lovett, 8.
Mary Reynolds, 8.
Okay. Next is the values. Okay. So values are feelings that we have inside. Okay. It's not like I value my shoe, my car, you know, all that stuff. So when I want you to share a value. Okay. Share a value that you bring to the workplace as an educator, and that you want to model for students. So one value that I always bring to the circles when I have them with my students is kindness, okay? And that's what I bring to the workplace.
I would say loyalty, just always being there and being consistent.
I think for me, because I work in the office, respect, giving their respect in the office and expecting it when they come in.
The value that I bring is trust, because I want my students to be able to trust me with what they have to say, and knowing that I'm going to be honest also with them and not just be upfront with them.
The value I bring is empathy. So I read and understand their feelings, and then I try to relate to them at that moment.
I would have to say mine is honesty. When I work with parents and with students, I believe in full transparency, and even when they don't want to hear
it. Okay, so next we're going to go over the guidelines. Okay, I'll read. So we're going to read the guidelines. I'm going to read one, and then I'm going to pass it, and so on. Okay. So the first one is respect the talking piece.
The second is just say enough.
Number 3 is listen from the heart.
4, speak from the heart.
5, be your best self.
6, what is shared in the circle stays in the circle.
All right, and then do we all agree to these guidelines? Can I get a thumbs up? All right. And then we put them in the middle. All right, that's it. Thank you. Yeah. Get your prizes. Yeah. There you go.
All right. Hey, guys, thanks a lot for all you guys. Big round of applause for all those people helping out today. All right, next we're going to move on. Exactly what is being practiced in the circles, like we've talked about. And you talk with all your kids, they're going to tell you respect. That's the number one thing they're going to tell you. When in doubt, they'll look down, they'll say respect. I want respect. I want to be treated with respect. That's what they're looking for. Okay, equality. Man, real meaningful moment when I was working with that one kid when he said, all I want to do is be treated like a human. Dude, we can do that. I know I can do that, and we're going to change the behaviors of the kids that aren't helping you out with that. And so equality, critical in what you're doing. Empathy, man, I love that, empathy. That's why you got to understand the kids. You got to understand where they're coming from. That's the only way you're going to be able to help them. Man, I had a young man this year. I couldn't get him to do anything. I finally kept him sitting in that circle, then finally found out that when he was a young man, and part of the reason why he was so not trusting was that he found his father dead when he was in 4th grade. And so that I thought, well, geez, you know what? That would be something that maybe it would be really important. And when I'm trying to bridge this gap with this student of why he just wants to sit there and not do any of his work. And so I'm like, geez, yeah, that's a pretty catastrophic thing that would happen to a kid, I'd think, if in 4th grade. Problem solving, man, this is where we come up with a lot of good ideas about school policy, school culture, school rules. We'll have problem solving ideas. One thing is, like you guys probably have at your school, is we have dress code. Man, that comes up all the time. We get to talk about it in one of our circles. We get to talk about problem solving, what they can wear appropriately to school. I imagine you guys will see that sometime along the way. But talk about responsibility. We talk about as big of things as taking care of their brothers and sisters. A lot of times we do have siblings that do come to school together. We do service families, it seems like, because we have had success in our school where they haven't had success in traditional learning opportunities. And then when we introduce these circles into them, really creates some accountability and some responsibility for them. Like I said, when I had the one group that said, hey, why can't we write our own circle? I was like, man, I went down, I told Mark and David right away, I said, we got them. I couldn't believe it. I said, they want to write their own circle. And this was the same group that if you would have told me 10 weeks before that, I would have said, man, I don't know if we're learning anything out of this. And I remember thinking that exact same thing. Well, what am I actually teaching these guys? And I just stuck with it with the over and over, and you can reach those kids. And it's really hard when they're on their phone and they don't want to listen to you and they're having a bad day and stuff, but it's really fun when they decide to acknowledge that they're in there trying to be a good student. So the responsibility part. Self-regulation. A lot of the students we have, they are blurters. Man, you name it, they'll say it. And so it's critical in trying to help the student self-regulate. Even if somebody says something and you're passing the talking piece, they know that they can't respond to that right away. Now, one thing that I will say, and it might make total sense to us, but if you have a kid and you're sitting there handing it out and he's laid back, don't let him throw the talking piece to another kid, okay? Make sure they hand it. Because when you first start teaching that's what they'll do. They'll sit back like they don't want to be in it and they'll throw the piece at a person. Don't let them do that. Make them hand it from hand to hand, because that way you can exchange that. But this also cuts back. The only time I ever had an incident during a talking circle was when one student threw a piece at another kid, and then all of a sudden the fight was on after that, okay? But that was one of the things that was leading up, and then that's why we said, hey, no more at any time can you ever throw the talking piece to one another for how they're sitting. And so I think that's a part of the self-regulation part, because like I said, in my classroom, I've been real lucky. Like we said, we haven't had a fight on campus in over 3 years, and that's part of the self-regulation part, and that's critical for our kids. Shared leadership. Now, I don't know how many times I've mentioned when Daisy said, hey, can I write one of these? I'm like, absolutely, ma'am. Shared leadership. She wanted to take the role of it. She's real active in our school campus community, great artist. And I said, absolutely, man. If you want to sit down with me, write one, or if you want to write down as a group of students, you guys are more than welcome to. And then I'll read it, and then we can run it. And then you'll even have them, because then I had a student like that, reading off the script like Abe was just doing. We're going down that script like you have. And I have students that would like to run parts of the script. And I'm like, great, let's do that. And so just because you might be the keeper that day, you can give some of your responsibilities to one of those students if they want to be able to participate in it. So as much as they want to participate, it might be the only thing that kid says might be the one, read the 6 different circle guidelines, right? Might be the only thing they read all day, might be the only thing they say, but guess what? They participated with you that day. They were in that seat, they came to school that day, and they were engaged during that time. You might not have got them that day or not got the response that you wanted that day, but that student did participate, because most of the students that you'll have, man, it works good when you have all your teachers here doing it, but when you're sitting there and it's really quiet, it's all right just to have them in the circle. I'm telling you that, okay?
So let's go back a little bit into the science of it. So when my assistant principal, who's a subject matter expert on the circles, came to me and asked for my cooperation in implementing this around our school to make sure it was sensitive, that it was appropriate, one of the struggles that I had was actually convincing our staff that this is the right approach. And the way I discovered the best approach was to use case studies and to show them the science. I remember teachers saying, well, it's nice, but I'm not an SEL teacher, so thank you very much, but no thanks. And I was like, well, it doesn't really work like that. So proven benefits for students, improved emotional well-being. These are all verified case studies that I have listed at the end. Enhanced social skills and academic improvement. Proven benefits for staff. We at Fusion Charter, we like to say that we're bamboo in the wind. We bend, but we don't break. And so it reduces burnout, it enhances collaboration. I can't tell you enough about how nice these staff meetings are when we all have an opportunity to vent and talk openly without fear of repercussions. Proven benefits for parents. Strengthens relationships, increased engagement. At Fusion Charter, that we do a new student orientation with the parent, and we make them sit through a circle. And the reason we make them do it is because Fusion Charter is a school of choice. So our students choose to come to us. And if they choose to enroll with us, then this is part of the culture. We've had 2 parents tell us, no, thank you. It wasn't for them. But all the other parents, hundreds and hundreds of parents that have come through, loved the process and have actually started implementing it at home on a less formal level, but definitely implementing it because they're finding it very structured. We're going to first talk about the next phases of the circle process. Ryan, if you could lead us through this part.
You bet. First thing we got, trust building. The keeper goes first. Shares a personal story. Usually it's pretty good. Increase understanding or connection and hear one another more clearly. And it's anytime you're doing the trust building, whether it's a relationship at home with your own kid or it's at school with the kids that you get a chance to work with on an everyday basis, trust is a critical factor on doing that. So when we look at trust building, you might work all semester, all year on trust building just to gain a little bit of ground because unfortunately, like I'm thinking of one student I had, his trust in the school system was so gone that one of the first things he took off running on me right when I got him to come to class. And we had a really hard time building trust with that student. So I had to go through the parent. We had to come up with some alternative ideas for this one particular student. And we were able to help this student complete his curriculum for the year so they could move on to the next grade level. And so that's one of the things too. I remember at the time feeling like I was a real bad teacher. I remember calling the parent saying, hey man, I did something to really make your student mad. And I said, I'm trying to figure that out still. But anyways, in working with the parent, I was able to get a better understanding of that this kid absolutely, obviously he told me to my face that he hated school and that all of us teachers were the same. But at the same time, I was like, if he's viewing me this way, no wonder I'm having a hard time reaching him because he's looking at me as the opposition. And that's not who I am. I'm here to help facilitate with this kid and get them back engaged to it. We're here to have the discussion part, explores the purpose, engages the students in the activity, multiple rounds. We do keep them short. Like I said, usually they're about 20 minutes. And I'll give you my pro tip at the end of this one, how I actually got the kids to talk. It draws out the reflections. It thanks the participants. It acknowledges courage. And during the discussion questions, the keeper goes last. And the closing round and the checkout round, participants share thoughts about the circle, and the keeper goes last during this time. So when you're closing it out, there's a checkout round that you do. And I know that Abe's going to go over that with you guys shortly here. And so that keeper goes last in a lot of these things, okay? In our closing activity, we also mimic the same opening activity. So if we started with the video, you finish with the video. If you start with a quote, you end with a quote. And I'd always try to keep it the same way. If we're talking about perseverance, staying with it, that's one that we try to keep our kids involved with, so they understand that it's, hey, we've graduated 45 kids from our school, and I'm working with the 8th grader, and he doesn't even think about tomorrow, let alone 4 years from now, you know? And so we're trying to get those guys involved in that. Next, we're going to have Abe come back up, and he's going to get to do our talking circle activity. This time around, we're going to need 4 volunteers. All 5? Well, we're going to take all 5 this time. So we can have 5 volunteers. Could be the same 5 or additional 5. If you didn't win last time, you can come in, try to get a second round.
All right, so we're going to start with trust building, round 1, okay? And for the trust building, I will be going first. So keeper always goes first. So how long have you been in education, and why did you choose to work in education? So I've been in education for 9 years, and I chose to become a teacher because I didn't always have the best teachers growing up, and so I want to be that teacher that I, for the most part, didn't have growing up. So that was just me.
I just finished my first year of teaching, and I chose to do education because I had really good teachers growing up, and they were always there for me and just cared more. They cared about more than just education, and so so I want to do that for my kids as well.
I think I've been in education maybe 10 plus years. I left and then I came back. And I think that education chose me because that was not, I'm a classified staff member, so I'm not a certificated teacher. And my alma mater was you enter to learn and you leave to serve. So I think it came back to my community and served them in the field that I'm working in right now in education.
I fell in education by accident. I was in culturally, and my ex-husband was from Mexico and he didn't want me working with men. So at the time, my daughter was in preschool and there was nothing but women working in the preschool setting. So that was my guided direction. And, but I want to say 10 years into being in education, I was looking for change and I wanted to live out my dream of going into law enforcement. And I applied various agencies, passed interviews, got selected for second interviews, and a jail tour scared me straight. I was going to go into law enforcement. And that's when I said, what am I doing? I'm staying in education.
I've been in education for 30 years. I wish I had a really great answer, but I just knew at the age of 5, I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. I was raised in a family of teachers and sports was big, and I just didn't want to do anything else.
All right, thank you. Okay, so round 2, next question. What is a recent highlight from your career in education? So we just ended our school year, and a big highlight was seeing a student that I've had since 7th grade walk the stage and graduate from our school, high school graduate. And so that was a really proud moment for me.
I'd have to say receiving my 30-year pin from the superintendent.
I want to say the impact that we are making with all our children because of what we do. We have grown since I started 7 years ago, and we've doubled. So now serve 9,000 students compared to 45.
I'm the program manager for Children and Youth in Transition program for Madera Unified, and we work with our foster students and students experiencing homelessness. And we were recently recognized by CASA, the court-appointed special advocates, as a Partnership of the Year award. So I thought that was really big for us, for our small little district.
I would say a highlight, well, obviously finishing my first year. And also, I think just building relationships with students and seeing how excited they are to come back to see you next year makes me excited.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the next part is the discussion rounds, okay? So the question is, what is the proudest moment in your career as an educator? Not just a recent highlight or a recent proud moment, but the proudest moment in your career.
I would probably say the proudest moment of my career is actually getting my first teaching job and having a great support system and staff that support me so well my first year. They're just awesome.
We took 30 5th through 6th grade students to Disneyland, to the Disney Imagination Campus. It was an educational field trip that had been on my vision board since, 16, 17 school year when I started. So to be able to take students from our program to Disneyland, students they've never been there. So we made it a full day. Like we were there. It was amazing. So it was like my proudest moment for my program.
I think for me, my proudest moment is growing dual enrollment with our organization, because we're able to offer quite a bit of dual enrollment. This year was 230 classes, different classes. So it provides students the opportunity to get college credit ahead of time. So just my proudest moment is being able to grow that program.
I have a couple. I'm a coach and I work with students. I think my proudest moments are when I'm coaching. It brings tears to my eyes, not just to win, but to watch the weaker players, the kids that are less skillful, show wide steps of improvement and watch them accomplish maybe the smallest task that they couldn't do before. I feel like, I love watching growth in school and academics, but coaching for me is just watching their ability and their pride when they succeed. There you go. Sorry.
It's okay. So I'm in charge of student council, student leadership, and this year was our second annual fall festival. And last year it was a mess. And so I had a really good team this year, and we invited the community out, and it was really great. The entire community had fun. The student council had fun. All the students had fun. And so that was really good to see how we improved from last year. Okay, so the next question is, how did it feel to share these experiences and thoughts in the circle today? So how did you feel today?
It was a little nerve-wracking. I had to think on the spot. But I mean, it was good. I'm actually more interested in everybody else's answers instead of mine.
Nerve-wracking, anxiety. I want to say being able to learn from each other is a great opportunity. I actually had a new teacher orientation yesterday, and we did an icebreaker activity, which is very similar, but not quite, but get to know each other. But being able to get to know who you work with it's a good opportunity to build the relationship with that person.
Nervous also, but I think because we're in this large, I try to focus just on us here in the circle, but I can see the reflection in the mirror. So it was a little bit nervous, yeah.
Nervous, but also I do like hearing other people's responses, especially being new. I like hearing what I have to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely nervous. And just like you said, I like hearing the responses. I like seeing how similar our responses are. Yeah. All right. And the closing round, okay, we also call it the checkout round. On a scale of 1 to 10, how did you feel about the talking circle today?
10.
10.
10.
10.
And yeah, 10. So the last part is our closing activity.
So at Fusion Charter, we hold staff meetings and staff trainings in a restorative practice format. Sometimes it's in the classroom, sometimes we're in the gym, We have about 15, 16 staff members, so our circles are pretty big. I'd like to thank everyone for coming to today's circle, our Welcome to Fusion staff training. Today we'll be doing a staff training on emergency lockdown procedures, lockouts, evacuations, and shelters. The circles provide a safe place for staff to share their opinions and for their opinions to be heard. They're not getting cut off. It's in a structured way. Other times, staff just want to listen. They don't want to say anything. They agree with everything that's being said.
So we don't open the door for anyone? What if there's a student outside?
Staff or teachers give their ideas, their input. We want to value that within the circle. Now, one of the guidelines of the restorative practices says, what is said in the circle stays in the circle, and that's for privacy. So we want to honor privacy in our circle, and we don't want to gossip outside the circle about ideas that were good or ideas that were bad. We are all equal within the circle.
Talking circles can build team relationships because you get to know a person on neutral grounds. Sometimes you're not talking about a real issue. You're talking about something like the weather or, my favorite food, or just some things that are just non-threatening. And so it allows us to find out what we have in common with each other and what we might have differences, and you just get to know a person on a different level.
Kind of like King Arthur and the Round Table. There was no head of the table. Everyone was equal around the table. Similar how the teachers, the principals, the support staff, we were all equal within that circle. Oh, Abe, welcome.
Hey, I just got done with my Comic-Con class. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Now that our circle is complete, we're going to continue with our training. The next part is a think, pair, share. And we're going to pair up with the people next to us. A lot of people, when we open up talking circles, they present their values. And their values are feelings that they have inside. A lot of people will say teamwork is an important value that they have, and we want to honor that. Within talking circles, sometimes what we'll do is have a breakout session, and 2 or 3 people will come together to work on a project. Say we're rewriting a job description for a teacher's aide. Well, we want to make sure that everyone understands what the duties and responsibilities of a teacher's aide is. And so people break out, they come back 5 minutes later, and they're able to share their ideas, and we work collectively as a group. So we have a common goal, so we all have also a common understanding.
We just talk about our concerns, we collaborate ideas, we congratulate our fellow colleagues now. So yeah, I believe it's effective.
And so doing this in a structured way is the best way to get feedback. If people want to say something, they have the opportunity, but they also have the opportunity to pass and say nothing. What we value is when people are giving their input, we can then incorporate their ideas, their input into that policy. It makes it more of a team building activity. When the team agrees to it, we'll have more buy-in and better success rate with our staff.
Thank you.
Before we answer any questions, I wanted to quickly talk to you guys about this book. This is called Circle Forward. It's an Amazon. I highly recommend this book to anyone that wants to dive into circle processes. This book has every circle that you can imagine in it. How to deal with contentious IEPs, how to deal with tragedy in the community, how to deal with the loss of the big game. We had a unfortunate incident near our school that forced us into a lockdown. And so the next day, our assistant principal pulled out a page on how to deal with trauma on the school campus and asked all of the teachers to implement that circle for the day. What we found was the kids were fine with it. It was the staff that didn't like the gunshots. So it's one of those things where our kids were a little braver than we were. These are some of the resources that we've listed, of course, and these are always available for you. But the three of us would like to answer any questions with the 5 minutes that we have left. So if you have anything, please let us know. Yes?
How many students do you recommend in a talking circle?
It's a great question. I think I'll let our classroom teacher answer that one, but typically about 12 or so.
Yeah, usually what we find is 12 would be a really large group for us. But if you have a smaller group of 8, it works a little bit better because it could go a little bit quicker. So as you guys are thinking about having a classroom of 30, you're going to have to think about how to make that smaller, because when we have our staff meetings and we have all of our staff members there, they take nearly 90 minutes for everybody to have their voice be heard. And so you want to be able to make that smaller so it is only about a 20-minute setting for the kids.
You may have to get creative, have a para takes half the students out to the playground. Another quick thing is this was a unique situation where we were watching a circle in process. In your classroom, you never want to do this. You always want everyone present. If you do have a student who doesn't want to follow the guidelines or is absolutely not interested in the circle, what you don't want to do is send them off to go play basketball or something fun. What we do is we prepare them a day in advance or 2 days in advance. Say, hey, Thursday we're doing a circle. Last week you weren't too comfortable with it. Are you going to be able to sit through it this week? If not, I'd like you to go meet with the counselor. He's going to tell you what the circle was today, and 9 times out of 10, the kid's like, I'd rather just sit in a circle and not say anything. So it actually kind of works out. What else? Oh, what stays in a circle, what's said in a circle stays in a circle. With younger kids, sometimes that can bleed out. What I would recommend is make your topics very innocent until that trust building is really developed. So what superpower would you love to have? You know, things like that they're not going to be able to kind of use out on the playground. I saw a hand, I'm sorry. Yes?
So do you guys all use the same prompts each week, or does each teacher develop their own based on their classroom community?
Yes, each teacher makes their own based on their classroom and their classroom community. And I believe the teachers turn in a lesson plan once a week on what that subject is. And then we do it only once a week. We don't want to burn them out. Yes?
How do you use this in the interview process?
Oh, yeah. Ryan, would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, the interview process was awesome. We were sat around a table like this, and we started out. They gave me the introduction of what a circle was, because at that time I was right here. And so then we went around the table, and then as we went through it in trust building, we talked about the things like what you felt was a accomplishment in your career. Critical one, I remember this right off the bat. I believe I went to empathy right away and value, because I'm thinking about the students that I'm projecting that I'm going to work with, and I'm thinking about over the first 24 years of my teaching career, where I'm actually really at and who I need to help. And so that was one of the things. But we went around the room. I believe we used 7 questions. 7 questions on an interview process, and it could be anywhere from scale of 1 to 10. How do you think the circle went for you? To in depth, hey, how do you motivate a kid that is unwilling to learn? And that's would be a good interview question. Or what do you do with the student that just told you to F off? You know, what do you do?
And like Ryan mentioned, it's a good way for the interviewer to see if this is a place they want to work, because the staff is answering the same questions that we're providing for the interviewer. So Ryan got to learn where I was from, what my favorite foods were, et cetera, et cetera. It gave him a better idea of like, you know, I'm interviewing these guys just as much as they're interviewing me, to see if it's a good fit.
From my point of view, it was nice to be able to understand that their goals were the same. Their goals weren't to go, hey, we just want to run this and get the kids through, get them graduate. No, we are a community school, and we are cared for our students, and we are empathetic about their needs. And I was like, you guys got me on that one. And so that was nice to know.
Well, I think we've run out of time. Please reach out to us if you have any additional questions. Feel free to contact us at any point, even if you need help implementing, or if you get stuck with one situation. Give us a call, email us. We'll be more than happy to walk you through it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.